Welcome again. And if you are visiting this channel for the first time, you are also highly welcome. Let's look at the superior mesenteric artery. In this lecture, we'll be unfolding the branches of the superior mesenteric artery and also the different regions that they supply. Basically, what they supply are the regions of the small intestine and also regions of the large intestine. Superior mesenteric artery is a branch from the abdominal aorta. So it emerges from the anterior region of the abdominal aorta at the level of L1 lumbar vertebra. So let's say that this is the abdominal aorta that is highlighted here, this big pipe highlighted in red. We have the superior mesenteric artery emerging at the anterior surface of the abdominal aorta. So this is the emergence here, and this is where the superior mesenteric artery emerges from. So as it emerges, it supplies midgut derivatives. So it supplies organs that emerge or are derived embryologically from the midgut. And these include the lower part of the duodenum. The duodenum is the initial segment or the first region of the small intestine. It will also supply the jejunum and also the ileum. So it supplies the small intestine, although not the entire small intestine. Then part of the large intestine that it also supplies include the cecum, the appendix, the ascending colon, and also the right two-third of the transverse colon. So let's look at the branches that it gives to supply regions of the small intestine and also the large intestine. It gives off 5 branches, and the first one is the inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery. This is the inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery. I highlighted this artery in my lecture on the blood supply of the duodenum. If you've not also checked that lecture, please kindly go and do so. So this is the inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery, and we say that in anatomy, when we have specification in name tag, we should expect the opposite name tag. So for us to have inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery, definitely we'll be having a superior pancreaticoduodenal artery. And that, of course, emerges from branches from the celiac trunk. That we have highlighted during our lecture on the blood supply of the duodenum. But the first branch of the superior mesenteric artery will be the inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery. And if you look at the name tag, it means it gives off branches to supply the pancreas and also the duodenum. So this branch, you see it tailing up towards the duodenum, and it supplies the inferior region of the duodenum. The second branch of the superior mesenteric artery is the middle colic artery. This is the middle colic artery, and you see the middle colic artery highlighted in red here. It emerges and it gives off branches to supply the right two-third of the transverse colon. So the region of the large intestine that it supplies is the transverse colon, even though it is not the entire transverse colon. So if you divide the transverse part of the colon, which is the transverse colon, if you divide it into the right two-third and the left one-third, you will see that the right two-third is the region that is being supplied by branches from the middle colic artery. So it supplies this length, that is the right two-third of the transverse colon. Then the second branch will be the right colic artery. And this is the right colic artery. This is the right region of the abdominal cavity. And we know that in the right region is where we have the ascending part of the large intestine. So this is the ascending colon. So you see the right colic artery giving off branches to supply the ascending colon. You can see that the regions of the large intestine are gradually being taken up by the different branches from the superior mesenteric artery. And the next branch will be the ileocolic artery. And this is the ileocolic artery and the inferior part. You see it emerging from the superior mesenteric artery, and it supplies the ileum, which is the terminal part of the small intestine, and also the cecum. It also gives off branches to supply the appendix. So that is what the ileocolic artery does. Then the last branch is intestinal branches, and these are the intestinal branches highlighted in black. And they are basically the jejunal and the ileal artery. And what they supply is the jejunum and also the ileum. So those are the intestinal branches. So that is how the branches of the superior mesenteric artery emerge, and they supply different regions of the small intestine and also the large intestine. So if you look at all the branches of the superior mesenteric artery that we have listed, the entire 5 branches, just 3 out of these branches give supply to the large intestine. And it supplies not the entire large intestine, but of course specific regions. And this include the middle colic artery, the right colic artery, and also the ileocolic artery. These 3 arteries supply specific regions of the large intestine. And this include the cecum, the appendix, the ascending colon, and also the right 2/3 of the transverse colon. So you should be able to state the specific regions and also the branches from the superior mesenteric artery that give supply to these specific regions in case you are asked during exam. Also to add that 2 out of the 5 branches of the superior mesenteric artery also gives supply to specific regions of the small intestine, and this includes the inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery and also intestinal branches. These 2 branches also supply specific regions of the small intestine, not the entire small intestine, as we've stated, that it supplies the lower part of the duodenum, the jejunal, and also the ileum. The upper part of the duodenum is being supplied by branches from the celiac trunk. We should also be able to state this specificity in case we are asked during examination. Also for us to add that if you look at the pattern of formation after the arteries emerge from the superior mesenteric artery, they have unique configuration that they form before they finally terminate on the wall of the large intestine. So we have the formation of the marginal arteries. The marginal arteries are like continuous arterial circular presentation of vessels of the branches that emerge from the superior mesenteric artery, and these are the marginal arteries. So they form a circular presentation towards the wall of the large intestine, and this is called the marginal artery. From the marginal artery, we have branches that emerge, and these are called the terminal branches that finally terminate on the wall of the large intestine. These are called the vasa recta. And this is formed basically between the middle colic artery, the right colic artery, and also the ileocolic artery. So these 3 arteries, you see them forming a circular network as they emerge from the superior mesenteric artery, before we now have final terminal vessels that are called the vasa recta that are finally seen to supply the wall of the large intestine. So this is the kind of presentation seen by the arteries before they finally terminate to supply the wall of the large intestine. So they do not emerge and go directly to supply the wall. They form a circular presentation before we have the emergence of the final terminal branch that finally terminates to then supply the large intestine. So thanks for watching. Let's meet again.